Now we're connected with psychologist Elizabeth Santoso, known as Liz, who will share some solutions for all the parents, including us both, of course, who are also watching this show. So, hello, good morning, Liz. How are you? Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you, Caroline. Hi, Paul.
Hi, thank you for joining us on this morning's show.
Yes. So, there's a lot of questions right now. Either me and Paul regarding parenthood, especially as we've seen, you've just saw that we've just met with our mothers. And I think the way that parenthood now revolves are very different than our parents, nurturing, educate us. So how do you think the difference is between parents nowadays and parents in the past?
By the way, I'm so jealous that you could get that exposure and meet your parents. I haven't met my parents since I came back from Melbourne. So I'm gonna meet them. Gonna meet my mom at the Christmas Eve.
So hopefully a good family gathering for you, Liz.
Thank you, Caroline. All right. Anyway, let me answer about some questions about nowadays parents. I think parents who live in the big cities indeed more exposed to the latest informations about parenting, which is good. But their awareness is expanded, as you know. But does it make the modern parents are better in handling their children? Not really. Does it make the modern parents are wiser? It's questionable. Because just getting to knowing is not necessarily understanding children. We know what to do, what not to do. There's a lot of articles that we can actually extract. But to willing to do the hard work as a parent, as a mother, I think it's really come down to each of mothers across generation. So the key word is basically about learning, is about progressing as a human, as a mother. And as an expert, I have 3 kids and 2 of them are twins. Until today, I make a lot of error. Imagine, my kids are the same like your kids. They are still, rebel, the teenager. They are, during this pandemic, they also had these addictions towards their gadgets. So we have to conduct a family meeting again, and we call it a detox again to screen time. So I'm actually can feel and be more empathy to the parents out there who's caring and raising their children during these difficult times.
So how old are your children, Liz?
13, and then the twins are 11 and a half.
Ooh, teenagers.
Not
Teenagers.
just that, twins. Can you imagine having to raise 2 at the same time?
Exactly.
When they were babies. Wow, kudos to you. You did mention some of the obstacles that we have been running into. I myself, Carol as well. Our kids are in the house way more often this day. I want to specifically talk about this last year. I've got a 5-year-old at home and I've got a 1-year-old baby boy. And for the baby, obviously it's much easier to adapt, but for the 5-year-old who's just started going to school, to kindergarten, she's now stuck at home. We're trying to find activities for her to do at the same time, maybe educate her a little bit from the stuff she's missing out at school, because at that age it's still a little difficult to get them to do online schooling, because that's not the main reason she was going to school. In kindergarten, she was socializing, she was getting away from the parents to learn a little bit of independence. How do we replicate that now in our household, where we're very limited to what we can do activity-wise, and especially since she's just barely learning to write and count?
I know it's very difficult for children in the very early childhood and have to enter this pandemic and using a virtual as their learning methods, which is very challenging. But please, the first one, I think my first tip is actually, we know that the most notorious symptoms that starting to emerge during this pandemic is demotivations. So they're not feeling energized to go to school, to go out and play, they don't feel much fun anymore. Sometimes they feel so lazy to brush their teeth, even more during pandemic, or to do anything playing fun and productive. So I think the first thing we can do as a parents to our young children is actually parenting by showing them that we are ourselves are active. we are ourselves are not lazy. We are ourselves are trying to keep our daily life keep on active, and that productivity is still becoming a source of daily routines. So yesterday, I met my children and I said that, oh, did you brush your teeth? No. And then their dad keep on asking me, yeah, they become lazy. And I look at, hey, you just woke up. This is like 2 p.m. No, I'm not. I just woke up. 8 o'clock. So we can see that my children copying their dad.
Right. Following the parents, right? Mirroring, yeah.
Yeah, mirroring.
Yes. So, especially during this pandemic days, I have a now going to be 4.5, so he's in K1 and grade 1. So this is actually where my table is, and then I have my son and my son, right? As a parent now, whether you're working or a stay-at-home mom, you have to kind of follow like the school and the Zoom that they have. And then sometimes that I don't have the patience enough. Like I told my husband, I was not born to be a teacher, And you need to have that patience and whatnot. And sometimes I would see that my son would get frustrated at me, and then he kind of like quit, like, I don't want to Zoom anymore. I don't want to go to school anymore. And it becomes my fault. I understand it becomes my fault too. So, do you see this frequently, especially during this year where kids are getting frustrated, they don't motivate themselves to go to school because probably their parents are just so different than their teachers, because like a lot of school nowadays, especially like, schools that's not public schools, like a lot of like private schools, they're more kind of like let them be more critical and whatnot, and being with mommy is more like, okay, let's do this from 1 to 5. This is the way, do it now, right? Like, do you find that a lot of cases like that happen?
Go Tiger Mom.
Right.
Absolutely. That's why my father is a musician, and they say that he rather have a teacher to teach music rather than himself, because we can't be really that objective as a teacher, plus as a mother as well. So a lot of children very frustrated to be taught by their parents.
Yes. Right.
So that's okay. We got to survive together. All I'm saying to you, by the end of the day, make it not by the end of the day. Let's make it like once a week time during weekend when we're not focusing on our tasks,
Right.
Let's have heart-to-heart talk.
Okay.
Give them, Carol, I give them and mentioned all the 5 things that you don't like about your mom.
Wow.
Mention 5 of the things
I don't think 5
you
will be
love
enough
about your mom.
for my kid.
That's like 10 lists right there, Mom. You do this. But that's a good idea, Liz. Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to ask our children about us. Right? Okay.
So what is the purpose, Carol? The purpose is actually to tell them, to teach them, to elaborate their feeling and emotions. Freely, to identify, because some of our children, they don't know what is the emotions called, for example, and depending on their age, cognitive level, and emotional intelligence, they're having difficulties to share about their exact feelings. And sometimes we listen to their words, but we don't read between the lines.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're giving them a voice, basically, right?
As well.
Yeah. Actually, it happened to my kid the other day when at the end of the night, there was a little incident, and then she cried, but she seemed to be crying excessively from the incident itself.
Okay.
So my wife had actually identified it and said, this is probably compounded from all the activities that you've got her doing. I've got her doing worksheets. I've got her doing exercises to stay fit and healthy. She said she probably just doesn't know how to express herself.
Right.
And in the end, she's getting it all built up. So I'm like, uh-oh, this is my fault.
Exactly.
all this time. But yeah, it's true, because when we gave her a channel to talk about it and let her, I started asking her about it the next day and allowed her more freedom nowadays. So I'm a little bit more lax. I'm not ruling her with the iron fist at home anymore.
Yeah.
She's gotten to be able to express herself a little more, showing that she's happier, and she's a lot more chill now. So yeah, I guess that is a great way to allow them to express themselves and give them a voice and let them know that their voice actually counts. Now, what other tips, especially if, I'm a father. I'm obviously not a mother, not celebrating Mother's Day today, but I'm the one working right now in the household. Are there any tips that you can share that can help me strengthen that bond with my child? Because obviously I have more limited time.
the small but the most easy, but sometimes you overlook, Paul and Carol, is actually the power of touch and hugs. Touch and hugs. It's increased oxytocin. It's when you care. Let's say we're both strangers, but during struggles we become really attached because. Have you heard about the words of that? Hugs can heal.
Yes.
That is the most.
It's actually true, right?
Powerful language.
Yeah.
Yes. More hugs. More hugs. You might not understand your partner at home. They might not understand our struggles, but hugs actually decrease the stress level at some point. Even though sometimes words cannot be, we can't really understand through communications. We have clash, we have different point of view, but hugs sometimes can really can heal some tension. So I encourage you, Paul, and also Carol, to hug your partner first and then your children at least 7 times a day.
Right, right.
Especially in these times where we're not allowed to be close and touch other people, our friends and extended family, so we might as well hug our kids and husbands and wives as much as we can.
Oh, Liz, I wish that we have more time with you, but just like one more quick question before we wrap it up. What are the things to do and not to do? Because we don't know for 2021 if they're going to stay, stay at home for homeschooling or they can go to their school. What should we do and what we should not do to our children if they're still doing school at home virtually?
Okay, let me just make it kind of wrap. It's about communications, all right? When about talking about communications, encourage the children to have learning process and be open-ended questions like, hey, Paul, have you done your homework? Yes. Cool. No, but you just like, share with me about your homework today, Paul. Talk to me.
So elaborate more so they can share their stories.
The more sharing, the more you will be fascinated that through communication that grows empathy and it also grows bonding.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth Santoso, and happy Mother's Day to you. Merry Christmas to you, and safe flight to Melbourne, this upcoming days, and wishing you a safe trip and a happy family time together with your family.
Stay safe, Lizzie. Good to talk to you.
Thank you, Liz. Bye.